This is where I talk about fat loss and weight loss and how those two things are completely different, and why, even though you should use the scale, if you use the scale, just use it as a guide. Don't look at it as the be all end all. Do not look at the scale as a be all end all. This is very difficult for me to say because it's coming from a person who is so obsessed with the scale. But if you can take it from me and you can learn to start disassociating your success with the scale, you're going to be a step ahead. You're going to be a step ahead. As I transition into adding muscle, as I transition into not doing fasts for as long as 3 days or 4 days or longer, I know that every time I refeed, I will gain weight. You've seen it. I've shared all of those numbers with you. Every time I eat something that's carb heavy, the more carbs I eat, the more my body is going to hold water. And that number on that scale is not going to be a number that I'm going to want to see. I think all of us, or at least a good number of us, can relate to that. There is a difference between, so I just have to share this. For those of you that get frustrated with the scale and that end up prematurely quitting on whatever you're doing, please give yourself non-scale victories. Set yourself up with ways to pat yourself on the back rather than just always looking at the scale. I have gained 8, 9, 10 pounds after a refeed easily. And I'll lose 8 or 9 of those pounds in a matter of a day or two. It's going to be different for everybody. So when I talk about the scale, and like, for example, let's say you've done a 72-hour fast and that number on the scale is still where you don't want it to be. Remember, you have been fasting for 72 plus hours. You have put yourself at a caloric deficit. Your body is using fat for energy. That extra weight that's on that scale might just be water. It will be water for the most part. It's so easy to look at that scale and get frustrated and say, forget it. So when I talk about non-scale victories, I talk about things like having, you guys have heard this story or heard this example many times. When I first started doing it, not only did I weigh on the scale every day, and yes, even though that was frustrating, I still believed in the process because mentally I told myself, well, no, you're fasting for this long. Your body is still burning fat. No matter what the scale says, your body is still burning fat. I put clothes that didn't fit me in front of my closet, and I would, no matter how tight those clothes were, I wore it. I still put it on, and I would take a picture just to see where I was at, to see how much, like how that fit on me. And even though the scale didn't show what I wanted it to see or wanted it to show, week after week, I noticed that shirt fit better. I would put that shirt on. I'd be like, no, that feels better. Or an extra notch on the belt. There's nothing more satisfying than knowing that those clothes that didn't fit can now fit, regardless of what the scale says. I know there's some of you that know this, that feel this, that you've put a shirt on that might have looked too small for you before, and now it fits just right. Or it might fit a little bit tight, but you know it feels better, or it fits better. You have to disassociate yourself with that number on the scale. Use it as a guide, use it as a way to help, use it as a way to assess where you're at and where you're going, but don't let it be the be all end all to your weight loss journey. Because if you start doing that, you're just going to keep cycling. You're going to keep cycling. Take it from me, who has done it for this long. Your body has to use that fat. The longer you fast, there's more fat that your body's going to use for energy because it has nothing else to use. If you break, keep your refeeding window small and then start again and keep continuing that process. That consistency is going to pay off. It will pay off. Your health. What about like me? being a type 2 diabetic, how's your blood sugar? Is your blood pressure getting better? Do you feel more energized? Are you more active? Are you not as winded after climbing 2 flights of stairs? These are things that I have noticed throughout the time. I went for a 5-mile walk today, and it honestly is nothing to me anymore. And I don't say that in a cocky way. I'm not trying to brag about it. I have just been doing cardio has been such a big part of my everyday routine now that I live 58 steps to this apartment. I have to climb 58 steps every time I leave or come back. I think I climbed 4 flights, or I climbed those 58 stairs 4 times today because I had to run errands. And sometimes I'll do those errands on purpose. Even though I could do 2 errands at once, I'll be like, no, I'll come back. I have some time because I want that extra exercise. I do that to burn a little more calories, and it also gives me a little more room to eat. That's what works for me. It's just going to depend on other people. A lot of you have known or have been following my journey for quite a bit. And you know that when I first started fasting, when I first started this journey, I lost a ton of weight quickly. One of the reasons that I went from a 90-hour fast to a 65-hour fast was for my mental, like my mental state. Because even though I did 20 90+ hour fasts back to back, I scaled it down to 65s because by that point in my journey, I had already been doing this for, was it 7, 8 months or so, 6 months? And it starts to wear. It starts to wear on you just a little bit. I talked about not having the same motivation on day 1 as I did on day 50 or day 100. And sometimes that motivation will, it's not the same because I started to lose weight and I felt good about myself. And then my mind starts saying, well, you look fine. You've lost a good amount. Why do you need to lose more? So for me to transition into those 65s was important for me. It didn't matter if it took 6 months to do it because I got there. This is why when I talk about consistency and how important consistency is, you have to factor all the other things. You have to factor your fasting regimen, your diet, your nutrition, the way you eat, the exercise, the activity level, and then where you're at mentally, how you're feeling. Are you going to be able to get through the day? Are you going to be able to get through the week? If not, where can you change all of these foundations of health so that you can continue and be consistent? Imagine if I didn't transition into a 65-hour and I stayed at those 90s and it was too overbearing for me that I didn't have a backup plan and I just fell off the face of YouTube. I've let my eating, my issues with eating, the way I look at myself affect my entire life. This is why I come back every week. This is why I have fasting roll call every week. This is why I talk about accountability. This is why I talk about consistency. This is why I talk about having no shame, learning that you're going to fail. You're going to have slip ups. You got to be kidding me if you think that I'm going to sit here and you think that I'm not going to have a slip up from now until the indefinite future, because I will. I'm not perfect. We are going to have those ups and downs, but the point is to just be able to get back up, take your losses, and go again.